This is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by Hike Tribe, a community dedicated to helping each other hike our best hikes. Now, here's the host of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, my hubby and the co-founder of Hike Tribe, Brian Special.
Thank you, Zena. At its core, this episode is about the friendships that have been forged from our Hike Tribe community and how the Grand Canyon has a way of pulling people together to support and encourage each other as we each walk our own paths toward our canyon goals and then beyond. In our last episode, you heard the story of 77-year-old Jerry Crank, who I was lucky enough to tag along with for his first ever rim to river to Phantom Ranch and back via South Kaibab a few weeks ago. On that same morning, not long after dropping in when we were enjoying the sunrise views at Uah Point, we ran into another member of our Facebook group, Scott DeBergh, who had been posting his progress for months as he built himself up for a 4-day backpacking trip with a group of college buddies. Scott's 59. The moment we all met, it felt like being with old friends, because even though we didn't know each other personally yet, well, we've been following each other's journeys and encouraging each other along the way, which is really the essence of what our entire community is about. Fast forward 3 weeks or so, and Jerry, Scott, and me, along with Scott's son Tim, met up at a golf course in North Phoenix for a celebratory round. And then a conversation we will now share with all of you on life, the pull of the canyon, and the lifelong memories and bonds that can form below the rim. This is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by Hike Tribe.
All right, guys, what a day we've had already. I mean, to be able to come out here and play some golf, not necessarily the same as hiking is, but to be able to come out here and spend time with you guys, 3.5 weeks removed from your Grand Canyon adventures, man, it's just, what a day this has been.
Awesome day.
Yeah, it's been great.
So much fun. And
thank God for Jerry and his membership.
Right? Yeah, we're out here at Wildfire in North Phoenix. It's a JW Marriott resort. Jerry has a membership out here, so this is an added benefit of Jerry being a part of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, Hike Tribe community. Scott and I benefit from it today.
Yes, I love being part of the tribe now.
The tribe, baby. The tribe.
Let's go.
So it's been a great day already, but I couldn't wait to sit down with you guys both because I think this is cool. We're 3.5 weeks removed from the hikes that you both did, and we've got the perspective now with that time that's gone by. Everything has sunk in by now, right? You guys have looked back on what you did, what you could have done differently, what you could have done better, and just how the overall experience was and how much it meant to your lives. And we're getting this from a day hiker, Jerry, and a backpacker, Scott, did you spend 4 nights in the canyon?
Yeah, 4 nights.
So let's just start with you.
Yeah.
Your itinerary was you went down South Kaibab with a group of friends, and you guys were spending your first 2 nights at Cottonwood, and then to...
Yeah, the first 2 nights at Cottonwood, and then the third night was going to be at Havasupai Gardens. So we were 3 nights and 4 days. Yeah.
3 nights and 4 days.
Yeah.
So what now, looking back on it, and I know because you kept us updated in our Facebook group about what was happening, you just seemed to be doing everything right. So just looking back on it, before we get into even what the hike was like, what did you take away from it?
That I'm good enough. I grew up and I was the eldest, and I was a really good student. I was a really good athlete, but I never really felt like I was good enough. And I was always having to work 2 and 3 and 4 times as hard in order to gain the success that I did. I've always challenged myself to do monumental things in my life. So when I started hiking 4 years ago when I moved to Arizona, I just loved it. And then I was like, well, why not go try to hike the Grand Canyon? And when I did that, I always want to test myself to make sure that I can validate for myself that I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, I'm healthy enough, I'm emotionally stable enough, I can maintain my anxiety enough, and to actually be able to do what we did, me and my 3 buddies from college. I bawled my brains out when I got out, man. I just let it fly. I called my son Timmy, who just met playing golf today, and I talked to my girls, and I talked to my girlfriend, and I could not stop crying for 15 minutes, just wailing. And it was all because of that insecurity of not being enough and just starting, to hike and learn how to backpack and to do that. I mean, come on. It was amazing.
That's incredible. That just goes to show you that it's more than just a hike. I mean, this is a life experience. And Jerry, I know you found similar things out about yourself too.
I did. I started hiking about a year ago, and my initial hikes were just around the neighborhood with a slight elevation of maybe 100 to 200 feet, which to me at the time was a challenge, believe it or not. And as I continued to lengthen my hikes, I started to do more elevation. And probably after maybe 3 or 4 months, I somehow came upon the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude site on Facebook and started reading about all the travels and tribulations of folks that had gone in and done it, and how hard it was, and what they did to train, and all the different features of what it amounted to for them to be able to be successful. So that sort of planted a seed in my brain to say, well, maybe I could do that at some time in the future, maybe. And I kept increasing my hike distance and my elevation gains, and it was hard at first, and I was doing it by myself. So that in itself kind of makes you think, well, I've got to do this. I've got to figure out how to do it myself. There's nobody leading me or telling me what to do other than maybe reading what I did on the Facebook page. And finally picked a date after you and I had met at Black Mountain, just coincidentally talked for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And you gave me the encouragement to say, oh, if you can hike Thompson Peak and Gateway, then you can definitely do the canyon. So I wasn't sure I could do that, but I said, well, I'm going to go try it. So that weekend I went and did it, and it was hard, but I did it. It was about 4,000 feet total elevation. And so then I set a date for the Grand Canyon. And fortunately, my son agreed to join us, and he had just started hiking sort of more strongly than he had been in the past, and we were able to go on a Sunday, April 6th, and do it. And I got to tell you, going down I thought was pretty easy, but coming back up was a challenge. But overall, it was a great experience.
Now that you've had the time to think about everything that happened that day, what's your biggest takeaway from it?
Well, I still, believe it or not, the first week and a half, I would have dreams about the whole process. It's almost like playing a great golf game. You kind of play every hole and every putt and think about that. Well, that was the same way with me.
So playing it back in your mind.
Yeah, in my mind about, okay, I did this, we did that, this happened, so forth. So that happened for about a week and a half. But I think I came out of it thinking, okay, it was very hard, but I was able to accomplish it. And now I know what I have to do going forward. And that is, for me, is to do more step-ups with weight. I bought a 20-pound weighted vest where I do hikes now with that vest. I do lunges, squats, everything to strengthen my quads and my hamstrings. And I think that alone will help me to enjoy the hike more than what I did maybe coming up out of the canyon.
So essentially, Jerry gets done, and he does this great rim-to-river hike. We went South Kaibab to Phantom Ranch and back again. Took us about 10 hours. I was honored to be along for the ride, but Jerry gets back, and 2 days later, he's already training for the next one, Scott.
I know.
This guy does not rest, and he's 77 years old.
I
We
love
haven't
it.
mentioned that yet today. Awesome. What do you remember, Scott, about that day and that morning? Because I knew that you were hiking that day, but I didn't know that we would run into each other, and that was pretty cool. And we all, because now we're all just friends, man. We just played golf together,
Yep.
and I feel like we're lifelong friends now.
You know what? The universe always gives back to people who give to it. And the universe gave to us that day by running into each other. And, here I am with my 3 buddies going down South Kaibab. And we see you guys at Uwa Point. And Jerry says something about, hey, Scott DeBergh is out here today.
And you just happen to hear that.
And sure enough, my buddy who was leading us says, oh, Scott DeBergh, he's right there. And all of a sudden you look up, Scott? Brian? That was just fantastic. That gave us that extra little step of just seeing you, because, this community to me has been a family. I left Virginia 4 years ago. I've been in Arizona for 4 years, and you guys have been a part of my life for the last year. And all I do is read and practice what everyone preaches. And I really feel like our community, our tribe, is a family.
It is.
And I just got off on just, seeing you guys. And the fact that we all were brought together that day was just amazing. And then to see you guys again down on the Colorado River, come on, twice in one day. And of course, you were looking out for me. And you said to make sure that, hey, the heat's coming, make sure you get out of there early at Cottonwood on day 3. And that changed our perspective. It kept us focused. It kept us disciplined. And, that's probably the biggest thing that I remember is just the gratitude toward the community. Because every step I took underneath, in the canyon was just because of you guys, and I am good enough to do it, but the fact that you guys were teaching me, because I'd never backpacked before, I'd never been below the rim before, I'd never even put up a tent before, and here I am with 3 buddies, and we're knocking this thing off as my first backpacking trip of my life. I mean, come on.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Well, those are very kind words, but you did the work. You guys do the work. Everybody in the group, I think, comes together and helps show the way, right? And shares their experiences. And that's why our group is so great and why it's so important to be transparent about when things go sideways, when things don't go well, because other people are paying attention and learning from that. So the more people share, the more it's helping future generations of first-time Grand Canyon hikers. So it's very nice to hear that. What was it like for you as the ringleader of this whole thing? Because I know you were planning this for at least a year. You were always updating your training hikes. You've got some buddies coming in from all around the country. It's a lot of pressure on you to plan everything, first of all. But what was that like for you the day of, just the excitement of getting to show these guys the Grand Canyon?
Well,
some of them for the first time, I assume.
Yeah. There was 3 for the first time. And I
so 3 out of the 4, you were the only one who'd seen it.
I was the only one that had been, underneath, in the rim, under, and having a great time, training twice up at the Grand Canyon.
So were you excited beforehand? Because that's the one thing that gets me almost more than anything else. And it's a big reason why this group exists and why the podcast exists, is because I get so much joy out of seeing the joy on other people's faces for the first time. It gives me the chills to see them experience that and see the wide-eyed wonder. Were you experiencing similar things that morning?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it was. We came up 2 days before because I wanted to make sure that my flatlanders were going to be safe and making sure that they were going to be okay at that elevation. So we kind of hung out the day before and just kind of walked around the rim, and we did go down to Uau Point and back on day, call it practice day number 1, and it was just it was truly amazing to see my guys just having a ball, looking at what we were about to indulge in, and for me, all of the practice hikes, all of the work that I had done, I was ready for it to pay off on day 1. I was really anxious about it, but I was, super excited. What's interesting as the ringleader is you don't practice being the ringleader for a year before. You practice being an individual contributor. I know what my intake was for nutrition. I know all the electrolytes. I know when to stop. I know what my heart rate needs to be at. And you concentrate on that, especially in those 8 to 20 mile hikes on the weekends. And day 1 for me was interesting because I lost my discipline that day as the ringleader. I had never trained with my buddies before. And so when that happens, you kind of lose focus. You lose discipline.
Is that because you're worried about everyone else and how they're
I'm
doing?
worried that I want to see them have fun, just like we golfed today. I wanted to make sure that your shots were 10 feet from the stick. I wanted to make sure that Jerry, who was, hosting us, felt our love and our appreciation. I wanted my son to have a great day because he just finished ASU. So I think about others, and that empathy is my greatest strength, but it's also my biggest weakness. And when I take empathy too far, then it doesn't allow me to focus on myself. So guess what happens? I don't eat as much. I don't drink as much. I don't electrolyte as much. I didn't take my salt tablets. I was out in front. I'm never out in front on hike days if I was with another person. But sure enough, I did all that. We get down to Phantom Ranch, and I'm feeling a little wonky. And I, of course, have to have the lemonade. And then all of a sudden I realized that I didn't do everything that I had trained with. So I immediately take a few goos, 2 goos in a row.
Oh, so you're trying to catch up.
So I'm trying to catch up.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I'm trying to catch up, thinking that I might be a little bit in trouble. And I've got 7 miles to go to Cottonwood. I've got, and that normally would take us 3.5 hours, 2 miles an hour. But all of a sudden, things started getting really wonky, and I bonked. And as I understand the new word bonking in this trail hiking world of yours and now mine, your body kind of shuts down. And mine shut down with all of it going out one way, and it wasn't great. And so, I kind of feel bad for those people that were in the box that day after me, because I had to stop about 7 or 8 times and relieve myself in the box. Hopefully some shade was found, and I just let it fly.
So we're talking about some pretty severe GI issues.
Yeah, we had some bad GI issues.
The double goo probably didn't help.
That
The lemonade
didn't help.
probably didn't help.
No, I didn't train with that, Brian. I didn't train with that.
You won't do it again.
And now I
either.
won't do it again. And guess what? For the next 3 days, I was very disciplined. That 1 mile an hour from Phantom to Cottonwood seemed like 24 hours. I'm normally the happy-go-lucky guy taking pictures, talking. And sure enough, my buddy said day 2, 3, and 4, we are so happy to have the guy who takes all the pictures and is our historian back in play. But guess what? I stopped every 30 minutes to take all my stuff. I stopped every hour to rest. I made sure that my heart rate was at 135 or less. And I did not allow the group think and the ringleader and the guy who doesn't feel like he's good enough to overcompensate and try to bring everybody else into the mix. But really, at the end of the day, I was likely just not feeling good enough in trying to hide that anxiety of me not feeling good enough, that I didn't really think I belonged down in the Grand Canyon, but I did belong. And I proved on day 2, 3, and 4 that anybody, that is disciplined, that is athletic, that has the drive, anybody can do this as long as they put the work in.
Bright Angel Outfitters is now Hike Tribe, a community for all of us. Join the tribe at hiketribe.club and our private Facebook group, Hike Tribe Grand Canyon, the official group of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show. Hike Tribe. Let's go get it.
Jerry, did you do anything different the day of, or were there things that you did that you had not done on your training hikes, or did you stick to the plan a little bit better?
Well, I think part of my issue as far as my body being fatigued coming up was what we did the day before. My son flew in to Sky Harbor on Saturday morning, and we picked him up around 8 a.m. and drove up 3.5 hours up to Tusayan, checked into the hotel, and then I wanted to show him the South Rim, kind of give him an idea of what we were going to do the next morning early. So we went up there. It came just like, I'll show you a couple places. Well, 6 miles later, and all kinds of things that we did in between really, took its toll on me that night. I didn't sleep well that night before we left on Sunday morning. And when I got up, if you're familiar with a Garmin watch, they have a body battery area that tells you kind of where you're at as far as your body battery based on sleep and fatigue and all that. Well, my body battery was at 23 when I woke up on Sunday morning. It's typically at 60 or 65.
Oh, wow.
So I realized right away that we had done too much the day before the hike. And but what are you going to do? You got to go, right? You can't cancel. So went ahead and did my preparation, and we got there, and you picked us up actually at the hotel, and we parked and walked about a half a mile to the trail. And I had 3 liters of water with electrolytes. I had all my goodies that I had to eat. But quite frankly, I'd had a smoothie and a protein bar before we left. And then that was really it until we got to the Phantom Ranch. I did have some sips of the electrolyte water, but I didn't drink that much because it wasn't that hot. So we took 3.5 hours or so to get down to the river and another half an hour or so to get to Phantom Ranch. I did have some food and some protein down there and reloaded the water. And then on the way up, I sipped water but really didn't eat anything else. And I think I probably should have done more of what Scott did, where every 20, 30 minutes, which I've read about, on the Facebook page, that if you do that, then you're kind of give yourself a better chance than if you just do the whole 7 miles without eating or drinking much. And that's what I did. So I think in the future, I'll set my timer on my watch or do something. It will say, look, you got to stop, even though you don't want to, and go ahead and partake in your food and water and then go on. So,
I wanted to mention this too because you brought up your watch. And, when you were pulling your watch out and, checking off mileages and elevations, I was like, Jerry, come on, GPS never works in the canyon, blah, 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 blah. But I listened to you every time. And after a while, like a tip-off, I was like, holy cow, this thing's pretty close. And I think it stayed that way in terms of elevation and distance pretty much the whole way. I don't think I've ever seen a GPS watch perform better than that. So I get nothing out of this, but what is the watch that you use? Because it was impressive.
I got to say that this is a commercial for Garmin.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Here we go.
Commercial.
Here we go.
And I'm not getting paid.
You earned it, though.
I'm not getting paid. I bought this watch in August of 2024. And I'd already been hiking since March or so. And I didn't have a watch to really track my heart rate, distances, elevation, and so forth. So I bought this watch. It's the Epix Pro Gen 2. And it was expensive, but so worth it because it records all of your activity, hikes, spins, Stairmaster, treadmill, all the different things that you do, and then gives you intensity minutes based on the zone 1 through 5 as far as the heart rate zone. And so and then it tracks your hike, so it shows you where you went and how long, your pace, all those things. And to me, it became a great motivator. And from that period of time, I bought it in August, basically the end of August. Starting in December, my training went from a coast to a skyrocket straight up based on this watch because I could see what I did and what I knew then I had to do to get to the next levels as far as recreational endurance, trained endurance, well-trained, and so forth. So I personally, for me, this thing helped me tremendously as far as getting to the next levels of physical fitness.
Man, so the things that I'm interested in, elevation and distance, you didn't even mention there. So this thing is a life changer, even on top of being fairly accurate in the canyon, which most GPS watches are not.
Yes, it was and is.
So I did notice you checking your watch often, especially on the way up. And as soon as we started up, things changed, right? Things got serious. Whereas going downhill, the cardio is always easier. Yes, it does beat up your body. It beats up your legs, your knees, your joints. If you're not careful, if you go down too fast, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. But when you start going up South Kaibab, immediately on the other side of the Black Bridge, things get serious very quickly. And I noticed with you, it became a start and stop fairly frequently, at least in the beginning. What was going on?
Well, I was watching my pulse rate, and I've got AFib, which I'm sure a lot of people have it, mostly older people. I also have a dilation of my ascending aorta, which I have to watch because if the heart rate gets too high, then you potentially could blow out your artery, and that'd be the end of the day. So I wanted to make sure that I tried to keep my heart rate at a lower rate. And I was hitting the 140, which is my max for my age. So you had encouraged me to slow my pace down, and which I started to do. And believe it or not, I felt a lot better. I could hike a lot longer without taking a little break. That really kept my heart rate in the lower part of zone 5 for 3 or 4 hours, which I'm not used to doing it that high, but I did for this hike, and things were good. Everything was fine, and that watch helped me to track that to make sure that I wasn't, overdoing what I should be doing.
Yeah, when you slowed down your pace, suddenly you were going a lot farther without having to
Yes.
stop and rest. Whereas in the beginning, it might have been every 50 feet or so, because
Yeah.
Jerry moves, man. He is, Scott, you've seen how he walks. He's
Oh, yeah.
always walking fast.
Yep.
He's like that in the canyon too.
Yep.
But so I think the lesson there really is, especially on an uphill like that, when you're exerting yourself so much physically, slow down. The goal is to get out of the canyon. If you've never been in the canyon before and you have a time goal, guess what? That's not realistic, because you don't know how your body is going to react to that kind of activity and exertion. So take your time, go slow, enjoy the sights and sounds. Nobody's in a race here, right? Finish. Did you run into any issues like that, Scott? Any, because you had to do that too. You had to go, what was it, on day 3? You went from Cottonwood all the way to Havasupai Gardens, which
Yeah.
with Bright Angel being closed, that means that you guys went Cottonwood, Phantom Ranch, crossed Black Bridge, went straight up South Kaibab to Tip-Off. Then you still got 4 miles to cross on Tonto, and I assume that was pretty hot. So did you run into any exertion issues yourself along the way?
Not really. We were all really smart, because day 1, we weren't smart. I was not smart.
And that was the quote-unquote easy day, right?
That was the easy day. And, going down 7 miles you think is like a piece of cake. And we were like, la, 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 here we go. And then on the way up, of course, we on the way from Black Bridge to Tip-Off, that was a really, really tough stretch. But it was slow and steady. And we found a couple of great shady spots to chill out. And we just had a ball, like looking around, enjoying it. And the good news there is that we started at 5 a.m. from Cottonwood, so we weren't as anxious about Tonto, even though we knew that it was going to be a warm day. Once we got to Tip-Off and we crossed over on Tonto to Havasupai Gardens, that 4 miles, man, that thing never ended. We were like, are you kidding me? But it's not difficult. It's one of those time on your feet goals that I had. And in the business world of my KPIs, it was a key performance indicator for me to make sure that I trained 10 to 20 miles on the weekends, and I was on my feet for 2 to 3 miles per hour of that 20 miles in order to make sure that that day on Tonto that it wasn't going to feel horrible. And sure enough, the rolling up and down hills, even though it felt long, my body was able to endure it. And same with my buddies, except for the detour. One of our buddies, Wiggs, did not like the detour. He was very angry. We got to the point where we see Havasupai Gardens with all the awesome trees, and we're like, we're here! Here we go! And we take a video, and we're like singing. And we knew about the detour, but we didn't know it was going to be that. I'd never seen
pretty serious.
I'd never seen a photo of that. And then all of a sudden we see the stairs, and then we see these little switchbacks.
Yes.
And then we have to go up, and we have to go the opposite way
For a while. Yeah.
away from Havasupai Gardens, where we want to sleep and fall down.
Yeah.
And so, exertion after day 1 really was fine. But like, me and my buddies talk about, the canyon gives back to those who put in the time.
Yeah.
And we had 4 buddies bail, over the 5 or 6 months before that. And only one of those guys bailed for for reasons other than, oh my God, this is going to be too hard. Like one of our buddies had a legitimate reason why he couldn't do it. The other 3 weren't going to put the work in. So they just said, I'm out.
Well, thank goodness they did.
And now, I mean, it's one of those things where you're only as good as your weakest link. And I was weak link day 1, and it doesn't feel good to be the weak link. So you don't want to be that guy. And so good on all of us for putting all the time in and not feeling the exertion pressure on the way up.
I think it's important for everyone to hear it from someone that's not just me. And I'm going to veer off here just a little bit because you guys spent time on Tonto. And with the closure of the river trail and the inaccessibility of Bright Angel for just about the entire duration of rim to rim season, meaning until October 1st, when they hopefully are going to reopen the river trail, and then you'll have access to Bright Angel to be able to go North Kaibab to Bright Angel. Before then, you have to go from North Kaibab to South Kaibab. And that is a significantly more daunting challenge because of the exposure, the steepness of South Kaibab, the fact there's no shade during the middle of the day. It's not a place that you want to be in the middle of the day. So I see far too many people saying, I'm going to go up to tip-off, and then I'm going to cut across on Tonto, and I'm going to get to Bright Angel that way so that I can get to water at Havasupai Gardens. And I am on record many times now at saying, please do not do that. It is not a good idea because Tonto, when you were on it, it was probably in the 80s maybe?
Yeah, it was
90s?
80s, and it was 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Can you imagine doing that in the summer?
No way. We said that if we didn't leave at 5 a.m. because of you, we would have been in trouble. Like, we were definitely feeling that heat. And I said when we got done at Havasupai Gardens that I would never ever do it one day past the day I did it in early April, because of that heat. And then the park ranger said, yeah, guys, there's a couple of spots you can stop for water. There's a couple of running streams there on the way. But luckily, again, we filled up at Boat Beach. And we had 3 liters of water, and we all, except one guy, ran out of water on the way to Havasupai Gardens because guess what? 2 of those streams were not running real hard. And as I learned as a new backpacker, you don't want to be filtering still water sitting there that's not running. And that was the case, when we got to that area. And
you cannot count on the water.
No.
On
Absolutely not.
Burrow Spring and Pipe Creek, the 2 crossings on Tonto. You cannot count on it. If it's flowing, it's a trickle. It's sometimes flowing enough that you could filter, but usually you're dealing with stagnant water, tadpoles. It's just gross.
It was.
Jerry, similar situation that you and I had that same day, even though they did Tonto a few days later. But that day when we were hiking up South Kaibab, I remember we talked about, man, I really wouldn't want it to be any warmer than this. And it was probably in the 60s at the most. That's as warm as it got. And we had direct sun on us on South Kaibab. And I'm speaking for myself, that's as warm as I want it to be. And I'd prefer it 20 degrees cooler. If it's going in the other direction, you're not going to find me on that trail in the middle of those days.
Right. I would agree. I mean, the day we hiked on April 6th was perfect, I thought, for the temperature. And we were stripped down. I was stripped down to a T-shirt and shorts. Coming up, and it was fine, but to get any hotter than that and have to deal with that as an extra factor other than just a challenge of getting up and out the elevation would have been daunting task. And then you start to wonder, well, if it was hotter and I was 3 miles from the top, kind of what's going to happen here? Would it take me another 3 or 4 or 5 hours just in those 3 hours or those 3 miles? Or, could I just, make it out in maybe a half hour more than what we actually did? So the heat is something you don't want to have to deal with if you don't have to. And I admire, to a certain extent, the people that are going to go in May and June, July, and August. I mean, they got to be pretty tough to be able to do that, in my opinion.
Well, you got to play it smart. You can be as tough as you want to be, but the canyon's going to get you if you're not careful. So strategize if you're coming this summer. We always say it. We understand that people are going to hike in the summer. That's when everyone has their vacations. That's when you can do it. That's when the North Rim is open. But you have to sacrifice something. and that might be leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning. You have to, be flexible enough with the forecast that you can adjust your plans on the fly. It's just not going to be the best time of the year to be in the canyon. But April, yes, that was a good time. Scott, what do you think the most memorable thing that you guys did was? Was it Ribbon Falls? Was it hanging out at Havasupai Gardens? Was it Cottonwood? Was it the fact that this was your first time ever backpacking, and here you are doing it in the Grand Canyon? Unbelievable, by the way. What was it? What sticks out?
This is very emotional to answer that question, because I've been friends with my 3 buddies since the late 1980s. And to do that with 3 really good friends, and to try something different, and to backpack after never backpacking or camping ever in my life before. Sleeping in a tent at Cottonwood, looking at the stars, hearing the Bright Angel Creek flow next to me, and getting my jet boil out and eating dehydrated food after accomplishing 18 miles that day, and the last 7 felt like I was going to die, and I felt every single step. Unfortunately, that memory of that 7 miles of my grit and continuing to eat, to drink, to electrolyte myself, to try to get myself back from where I was and going 1 mile an hour. Unfortunately, that's the first thing that pops to my brain. But in terms of the fun, it has to be Ribbon Falls. And Coach Arnie, you're crazy. The fact that you have never been to Ribbon Falls,
come on,
I don't know you, Arnie, but come on. You have got to get to Ribbon Falls. Everybody has to get to Ribbon Falls. We loved Ribbon Falls. We were there for 3 hours. We, were there in our shorts, and it was, the guys that you talked to from Iowa said you had to get there by noon. And meanwhile, we didn't put the months in perspective. Like, I think they were there in October or November. So we got there at 11, and we're looking at noon, and we're like, the sun's still really high. So we hung out there till 2:30, and just enjoyed each other, told stories. They were laughing at me because I had my white shorts on the day before and having my GI issues, and they were laughing like, what backpacker camper hikes in white shorts? Like, are you kidding me? So I'd say, the really fun part had to have been Ribbon Falls. Like, if you're ever in the canyon, that has to be part of a stop. It really does.
Yeah, it's hard to miss. And Jerry, I know that you were looking on with interest as Scott was talking about Ribbon Falls, because I know, and I knew this was going to happen, and I don't want to say I told you so, because I just knew this would happen. This is what happens. You get out of the canyon, and it's like, oh, what's next, baby? And for you, I know it's going to be doing a rim to rim and seeing Ribbon Falls. But on this first go, what do you think you'll remember most?
Well, I kind of look at my hiking career, so to speak, to this date as like a life story. My first chapter was that I was walking around the neighborhood doing 100 to 200 feet elevation gains on a 3 to 5 mile hike. The second was taking on Tom Thumb, Pinnacle Peak, Gateway trails with 1,100 to, let's say, 2,700 elevation.
Tougher hikes here in the Phoenix area.
Tougher hikes, and then trying to do a couple doubles where you do Tom Thumb twice or Pinnacle Peak twice and so forth. The third chapter was the rim to river, and that's when you start getting into the meat of the story, where it's definitely going to the next level from doing what I just talked about. So just the entire experience to me was fantastic. The fact that we were able to, my son and I were able to do it with you, made it a whole lot better than he and I going down and not really knowing what to expect, because as you all know, the first time you hike someplace, that's the hardest. After that, if you do it again, it's a little easier because you know where you're going and what to expect and so forth. So that was very helpful to have you with Jeff and I when we did the hike. the fourth chapter is going to be the rim to rim, which,
let's go.
I'm ready to roll. I could go right now if you turn the temperature down a little bit.
Yeah, true.
I could go right now, and I'd love the challenge.
Yeah, that was it was a special day, man. It was so memorable, and then seeing you coming up the chimney and slapping the sign like I told you to do. But you guys must have gotten, to your point of allowing me to tag along, Scott, they must have gotten so tired of hearing, hey, this is O'Neill Butte. Let me tell you all about it.
Not at all. Not at all.
Again.
The historian along
such a
with
nerd,
them.
man. Such a canyon nerd. Oh, have I told you, if you look up right here, you can see the Grand Canyon Lodge on the north rim?
No.
That's the coolest thing in the world.
I know. No, we saw that.
What
But
a
the
dork.
other thing was, we were down at Uha Point, I think, and we were looking up at the chimney, and it's like daunting. You see all these switchbacks and these little people crisscrossing their way up, and I'm going, oh man, I don't know if I can do that. Believe it or not, though, that was probably one of the easier parts of the whole hike, because the switchbacks weren't that bad. The trail is very nice. It's not all mule holes and whatnot, and that
The
was
adrenaline must have been pumping.
yeah,
Dude.
that was easier.
That's it, man. And
It's
I remember
adrenaline.
saying that to you when we were at the base of the chimney and looking up at these 9 switchbacks that look
it's
very steep. And at the end of a hike, that can be, like you said, daunting, right? But you don't even notice it because that adrenaline is pumping and you are almost done. And suddenly you're there, man.
Yep.
You're there. And God, that felt so good to watch you slap that sign.
It was like a magnet pulling me up to the top of that sign, and then when I did the sign, it's like, okay, now it's over. You can, let loose, celebrate whatever you need to do, and it was a great feeling.
Time for pizza, baby.
Yeah,
Time for
exactly.
Pizza. Oh, man. Scott, one thing that I know you mentioned about your training, and you posted about it so often, but it feels like time on your feet was a super important part of this, and I know Jerry agrees with that. But when it comes to Grand Canyon hiking and hiking for mile after mile after mile, of course it's important to learn how to handle elevation and steps and things like that. But do you think that the time on your feet was the key, or was it something else?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I would say time on my feet as well as elevation. But
And how much time are we talking about?
we're talking 4 days during the week. I would be doing anywhere between 5 and 8 miles per day. And then on the weekend, I would do 10 to 20 miles per day. And I would do it with your Bright Angel pack on, and I'd load it up, and I'd slowly get that thing from 10 pounds to 15 to 20, along with my backpack at the end. The last month, I got it up to 30 pounds.
Wow.
So that was being really thoughtful and inspirational for my buddies, because I was showing them what I was doing and sending texts, and we were getting on Zooms. And so our experience was all about time on your feet and elevation, and making sure that we held each other accountable to those performance metrics. And I feel like it was almost a business deal for me. I'm a business guy. I work in a business development group inside a big company, and I really trained as if it was something that I needed to prepare for this big presentation for, and that was going to be the 4-day Grand Canyon trip.
Well, and that accountability is so huge.
Yeah.
Because like we've talked about, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and you definitely don't want to be the weakest link. So you guys were able to stay in contact. You did Zoom calls and everything?
Yeah, we did Zoom calls once a month. We texted 4 or 5 times a week. Once one person, call it me, would take a picture of me on top of Tom's Thumb, doing my 2,800-foot elevation. It would be a 14 or 15-mile trek here locally in Scottsdale. I would send that to my 3 buddies, and then they would send me their photos, and we held each other accountable. And I think it kind of spooked some of our other buddies that said, no, this isn't for me yet. They all want to do it, and now they saw all of our pictures, and they saw how much fun we had, so they're all going to do it at some point with us. It just wasn't their time.
And to their credit,
Yeah.
they realized that, and they backed out and didn't show up and potentially drag everyone down.
Exactly. So I think, time on your feet, they couldn't be accountable to themselves to do it. So they said, I'm out. And, hopefully over the next, 2, 3, 4 years, we all come back and we do what we, wanted to do as a group of 8 and see what we can do.
Jerry, what did you and I talked about what you would have done differently, and you had some things when we did the first podcast with you recapping this journey that you would have done differently with the benefit of hindsight now of a few weeks. Still the same kind of things, or what would you have done differently?
No, there's definitely things that now that I've done it once, I would focus on that I know would make my legs stronger, even though my legs didn't hurt when we finished the hike. I had a little bit of twinge in my quads, but nothing really to speak of. I could have walked another 2 to 4 flat miles after that hike. So for me, hiking distances is not an issue. It never has been, but it's the elevation that gets me. So I've got to focus on doing more elevation practice hikes. And I've done, my most before that was 4,000 feet, which I thought would be sufficient, but you have to do it more than once. You can't just do it once and say, I'm ready. I've done 16-mile, 10, 12, 15-mile hikes, and with elevation, maybe 2 to 2,500. But I think strengthening my quads and hamstrings, using, Scott mentioned it, he put 20, 30 pounds in his backpack. I bought a 20-pound vest, and I've been hiking right now 5 to 6 miles with that vest. And after the first half mile, you forget you got the vest on. You just go, and it's part of your body. And I think that's helped, because I've noticed when I did hikes without the vest now that my legs feel stronger. I can tackle the elevation easier than what I could prior to that. I do squats with weights. I do lunges with weights. I do step-ups in the gym. We have like a 20-inch bench that I do step-ups, right, left. And then one of the guys, one of your veterans, mentioned doing 4 minutes step-ups and then 3 minutes rest and then 4 minutes. Do that like 5 or 6 times, that sequence of 4 and 3. And I think I'm going to try to do that, because if you do it, I do 5 minutes at a time, and if just starting out, that's hard. I mean, that's tough with 20 pounds on your back. So, but I think it'll pay off as I do the rim to rim in the future, and my legs will be stronger, so that I'll enjoy the up more than I did this first time that I did the river, because it was body fatigue, leg fatigue, whatever. But it was a challenge.
Well, it's never easy getting yourself out of the canyon. The true measuring stick of how your training went is how you feel when you get out of the canyon, and not necessarily the moment you get out of the canyon, but particularly the next morning when your muscles have had time to stiffen up and everything's getting sore, and you do the famous canyon shuffle as you walk to breakfast or wherever it is you're walking to. You guys, what happened with the canyon shuffle with you two?
My canyon shuffle was so happy. We got out of Bright Angel Trail on day 4. We ran over to the hamburger place. What's the name of that place? Bright Angel Hotel. Harvey's. We went to Harvey's, and all 4 of us were in great spirits.
But no soreness.
No soreness.
And the next day, no soreness.
We were a little stiff, but
fair.
We were not sore.
Did you expect to be?
Oh yeah, I expected when I ran a marathon 20 years ago and didn't train as hard as I should have, and I thought I was in badass shape. So I was going to be able to just go ahead and do it. Well, guess what? I couldn't walk for 4 days after the Marine Corps Marathon in D.C. And when I got out of the Grand Canyon, I expected to feel that way.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a monumental thing.
And you're a lot older now,
and
too.
We're a lot older.
Yeah.
And sure enough, man, the next day, I was just a regular, normal walking guy.
Unbelievable,
in my
man.
50s.
Unbelievable. In your 50s, and Jerry's 77, and you felt great.
I felt great. I got out. Like I said, I could have walked 2 to 4 miles flat from what we did. We went and had pizza, and my son had a beer, my wife had a beer. I watched them while I drank water, and I drank a lot of water, so I was catching up on my fluids. And then the next morning, we drove home the next day, Monday, and Tuesday morning at like 7 o'clock, he and I went to the gym for 2 hours and did weights and
Look at you.
all kinds of stuff. So, but my legs were never didn't feel like we'd walked 20 miles or 15 miles, so never didn't feel it.
My jaw's just on the ground, both of you guys, because what that says to me is that you did everything right. And you might not have done the same things in your training, but you took it seriously and you were intentional, right? And you kept at it day after day. And that's why you ended up having success. There's a direct correlation between having success and taking things seriously, right? Take it seriously, you're going to win in the canyon, and you guys won.
And the canyon always gives to those who give to it.
Right.
We gave to it as trail angels by picking stuff up. We gave to it for being gregarious and friendly with everybody that walked by us. We gave to it just spiritually, where we recognized that there was more than just it was more than just a hike. And the energy that the four of us gave off to 50 people that we ran into, and the canyon itself, and just the respect that we gave it, but more importantly, the respect that we gave ourselves to get prepared, the canyon gave back to me and my guys tenfold of what we put into it.
Okay, last thing. What's next? This is not a one and done for either one of you. Jerry, what's next?
Well, for me, it's a life change. I mean, I changed from, not hiking to focusing a lot of my time now on hiking and preparation to hike, which is working out and doing things like that. So now that I've done the Rim to River, and that was a great experience, even though it was hard coming out, my goal is now to do the Rim to Rim, and who knows after that if there's Rim to Rim to Rim. I don't know.
Oh, he just said it.
He did.
He just said it, Scott.
It depends on how the Rim to Rim goes.
This guy.
He's an animal.
But I set a goal, and I like to work towards goals, so I'll see what happens.
77, and he's thinking rim to rim.
Are you going to do that in one day?
Hell yeah.
All right. That's amazing.
It's only 21 miles. That's easy.
I will be a multi-day backpacker with more of my buddies from the University of Richmond. And the original 8, hopefully we all get back and do it. And I would love to do start at the North Rim and get down to Phantom. I'd love to spend a night or two down in Phantom and then spoke and wheel off of that. And I don't really want to do 18 miles ever again from the South Rim all the way to Cottonwood. I would have loved to stay right at Phantom, enjoy that. And I think, is there a Bright Angel campground there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we would love to stay there because I understand that it's hard to get something at Phantom Ranch. So it would probably be more fun for us anyway to sleep in our tents because we don't know what we're doing. And now we're getting to be, a little bit more seasoned veterans after 3 nights in the canyon.
And I assume you want to come back with Tim, with your son.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. I've threatened all 3 of my kids that for my 60th birthday next year, that they were going to come with me. And they're like, no chance, Dad. There's no chance. But maybe I can sucker Tim into
I think Tim could do it. I think Tim could do it.
Yeah, Tim's in great shape, clearly. Well, guys, this has been just a one-of-a-kind day. We got to spend the whole morning playing golf together, having lunch, and then we get to sit here and reminisce about the canyon. I'm so honored to know you guys and so appreciative for your contributions to our community, to our tribe. I know you both inspire a lot of people. You guys are awesome. Like I said in the beginning, I feel like that I've made friends for life, and this has just been a great day. So I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude for you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
The tribe is here. You've got 2 of your leaders, tribe leaders, right here.
Right. That's right.
And I, speaking for myself, you've changed the perspective of my life, and you've changed the trajectory of my life because of what I was able to accomplish and how I was able to believe in myself again after another monumental effort trying something completely new besides golf. And, the 3 of us can golf well, but, for me to go out and backpack, there's this community that you've started is just,
it's
truly amazing.
It's a lifestyle change. And Brian, you're at the middle of it. You're the motivator. You're the guy who gives everybody the confidence to be able to try something they never have done before. And believe it or not, they can do it. So, that's a great combination as far as success, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's great to know you.
Super grateful for you guys. Your words are far too kind. This is about all of us, man.
Yeah, it is.
This is about a community. This is about everybody looking out for each other and helping each other achieve their dreams. And I think we see that manifest itself every single day in our group, and it's just going to continue. And that is the impetus for us calling this Hike Tribe Grand Canyon. That's
go.
what it is about. It's about all of us, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Let's get after it, boys.
Absolutely.
Scott DeBergh and Jerry Crank, now cemented amongst the Canyon obsessed. Both are very good golfers as well. We just had an absolute blast out there, and I know both are eager to get back to the Canyon and create their next set of unforgettable memories. Well, on our weekly Black Mountain hike this morning, I was complaining to Coach Arnie about nagging pain in the ball of my right foot. He said it was probably plantar fasciitis, which I know so many of us have to deal with at one time or another. When it comes to the best way of dealing with it, well, just take one guess at what Coach told me to do. Yep, it's the number one secret weapon in Arnie's arsenal.
Today's tip, I want to share something that I had already talked about on an episode of Grand Canyon Hiker Dude, walking backwards. Why? Because walking backwards is a secret weapon. Another one, it is the cornerstone of what my canyon training program is all about. I first came across it many years ago because as an exercise physiologist, I'm in the rehab business, and we would use walking backwards as a rehab exercise for improving ACL or hamstring injuries, and it just worked. I thought, well, wait a minute. Who was just getting into ultra running, wanted to get better at running downhill. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. Walking backwards works the hamstrings, works the hips, which would protect my knees. I thought, well, here we go. Because I was dealing with my own knee issues, my own hamstring issues. And could I shorten up the learning curve to get better at downhills, besides just running a bunch of downhills, as I was being told, by walking backwards? And you know what? I thought about it. I broke it down. The muscles were the same. I thought, well, why not? So by just starting off by walking flat, literally flat on the ground for 10 minutes, you could get going. And then if you had a treadmill, you could literally turn the power off on the treadmill, what I call a dead mill, and walk on it with no power, pushing along. You could change the angle if you wanted to. If you had access to a weighted sled, you could add weight and resistance. You could add time. You could add distance, whatever you wanted to do. You had all these variables that allowed you to work the same muscles that you would be doing on a downhill, and you could do it at your convenience at your facility where you're at. It worked, and it will work for you, I promise you. Just give it a try. Just start with 10 minutes. You'll be surprised. I love you guys. And remember, if you have any questions, you can always message me from Pain Free Arnie on Instagram, or you can call or text me at 602-390-9144. Love you. Talk to you later.
10 minutes a day, he says. 10 minutes. At some point, I'm just going to have to commit to doing it or stop complaining on Saturday mornings. That's Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr., our exercise physiologist and canyon coach. Man, he helps a lot of people, and you could be next. If you'd like to explore options with Coach, his contact information is in the show notes of every episode. Well, Rim to Rim season 2025 is now just 8 days away from the time this episode was released, May 15th. It is almost here. If you haven't heard, there is a big change that you need to be aware of because of the ongoing Trans-Canyon Waterline project, and that's the closure of the Silver Bridge and the River Trail until October 1st, which cuts off all access to Bright Angel Trail from the bottom of the canyon, meaning if you're doing a north to south, rim to rim, you must exit on South Kaibab, which is a steeper, more difficult, more exposed, and completely water-free route. And that means you have to be extra strategic if there is any heat to deal with at all, because getting yourself caught ascending South Kaibab in the middle of the day can lead to potentially deadly problems. Please take it seriously. Our recommendation is to wait out the heat of the day in the Phantom Ranch area and to not start up South Kaibab until the evening when the sun is no longer overhead. Now, we break this all down in detail in episodes 73 and 75 of the podcast not too long ago, so if you're planning a rim-to-rim this summer, please have a listen to those, and please take extreme caution. Hikers die in the canyon every year, and scores more run into serious problems because of the heat that we never even hear about. It is not to be taken lightly, and certainly not one of those things where you think, I'll just deal with it when I get there. How bad could it be? Please be smart, and please be safe out there, and we all look forward to reading your success stories in our Hike Tribe Grand Canyon Facebook group and celebrating your success alongside you. All right, that's it for now. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and savor every step in the magnificent Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by Hike Tribe, a community of hikers coming together so we can all hike our best hike.